Hello everybody. I'm going to show you how to exploit a Windows Server 2016 with the Eternalromance synergy exploit, which is public available. First of all, I'm going to show you my lab setup. I have created a virtual machine with the Windows Server 2016 running. This is an unpatched system. You can download the image for free from Microsoft. You're gonna find all the download links in the description of the video. As you can see here, it's the standard evaluation software. My attacking machine is my Kali box, which is pretty standard. I haven't made any modifications, so you can actually exploit the server from like every Linux system where is Python and a Metasploit framework available. Okay, so let's start. First of all, I have downloaded a couple of things. I have downloaded the exploit, I have downloaded MS17-010 and ps1encode.ruby. You're gonna find all the download links in the description. Okay. What you need to run the exploit is a local user on the Windows Server. I have created a non-privileged user called Mechanico. And you need the user's password. Just assume you're in an internal penetration test and you have got his credentials from some other server or a workstation. Okay. Before I edit the exploit, I copy it. So I will always have the source if I mess something up. This is our exploit.py which we're gonna use. Okay. Here at the top of the code you see username and password. I'm entering the credentials that I've gained from my penetration test. I save the exploit.py. If I would execute it without making any further modifications, it will fail. So I create a file that is needed by the exploit. As you see, init.py was created. It's empty. You don't have to put anything in there. Now, if I run the exploit without any arguments, it will tell me what to do. Okay, the first argument needs to be the victim IP address. So I enter the IP address of the Windows Server. So I haven't made any further modifications to the exploit. So what happened, it will create a file called pwn.txt on the target. This is like a proof of concept. Let's check this out. Wow, it was created. So we delete it. This is a nice proof of concept, but we don't have a shell now. To get a shell, we need a shell code. For that, we're gonna use ps1encode, which creates a nice PowerShell shellcode. I have entered all informations that ps1encode needs. On one hand, you need the payload that you want to get executed. In my case, I'm going to use the Windows Meter Preacher Reverse TCP, which is in this case a staged payload. as host, I use my local IP address, port is 8443, and the target is as city. If I execute it now, it will take some time, and then it will ask for another information. Enter the full URL on which the payload will be hosted. I enter my local IP address with the shells directory, because that is where I'm gonna host the shell code. Now it tells me to run, execute the following on the target system. So now we need a place where we can execute this command. I copy it and take another look to exploit.py. If I scroll down to line 470, this is where I gonna enter the command that was created by PS1encode. Here you can see where it creates pwn.txt. We can leave it as it is. So now save the exploit.py, and now copy index.txt to your local web directory. Okay, let's clear this up. In this window, I'm gonna launch the MSF console, where I can start the exploit multi-handler to get a session back. Exploit multi-handler needs a payload. Here you enter the payload that you have selected for PS1encode, which can be nearly everything you need. The Windows Meter Preacher reverse TCP needs some informations, which is the IP address where you host the payload, and port. This is actually the information that we have entered in PS1encode. Okay, now let's fire up the exploit. As you can see here, the reverse TCP handler is started on my local IP address and the port that I entered. Now I'm gonna launch the exploit again. It may fail at the first time, so you probably have to run it a couple of times. But please take note of the fact that the target system keeps running. It's not getting a blue screen or getting crashed. Oh! As you see here, it worked in the first time. You see here a session error, which we can take note of, but we don't have to care about that. But our MetaPreater session 1 was opened. I list my active sessions. I interact with session 1. And now I get my MetaPreater shell. As you see here, this is actually the target host. Now, the bad thing about this exploit is that we have a system shell. So, from a unprivileged user, we successfully gain a system shell via an remote exploit.